Good evening, creatives. This is attorney Angela Green with Position for Millions. Just coming to you with some thoughts that I had this weekend. It is December 20th, and Ma Rainey, Black Bottom, premiered on Netflix this past Friday on the 18th. And I did take the time on that evening to watch Ma Rainey, Black Bottom. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you watch the movie, especially if you are a recording artist. I love the movie just in watching it. I had to watch it again because with me being an entertainment attorney, practicing law, working with independent artists for pretty much 20 years or so, I recognize that that movie is actually a masterclass in building your music career in the industry, as well as the art of negotiation. And so I wanted to just kind of share some thoughts about it, because not only did it tell you what to do, it also showed you what not to do and the results of those actions. And it was shown through the career of Ma Rainey, main character, as well as the character of Levee. And so I kind of wanted to just kind of analyze and bring out some of the things that I saw in watching the movie. Now, if you haven't watched it, this is a spoiler alert. So there are spoilers that will be revealed here. And so if you haven't watched it, then I suggest that you turn the video off, go watch the movie, and then come back. And then we can talk about it a little bit further. But I want to just bring out these points. First, looking at Ma Rainey's career and how she actually established her career. When the film first opens up, the first scene, you see gentlemen running through the woods, and they're actually running to get in line for one of her concerts down in the South. And so she has this tent that's put up, long line of people, men, women, all Black, who are waiting to get in, and the place is packed out, and she is definitely in her element. And so that scene pretty much sets up the fact that she has established herself as a viable and bankable recording artist. She has her fan base. She is making money. She is on tour, and she is controlling her tour. Her band is all Black, and so she is the boss of her career. And she is running everything from top to bottom. So that's the first thing that I noticed in establishing her career in the industry, is that she identified her fan base, and she went about doing the work to monetize her fan base. Now, on the flip side, you look at the artist Levee. Levee was her trumpet player, and he had aspirations and dreams to be like Ma, to have his own band, to record his own records, and to sell his own records. However, Levee had not created a band. He had not put out his own music. He had not created his own tour. He was working for Ma Rainey. So you see the contrast right there in both of their careers. One has positioned themselves as a boss and a business person, and the other one has positioned themselves as a employee. So that's the first thing. The next thing is the fact that she had built that career, and that she had that fan base, and that she was making that money. Over time, Hollywood or the music industry came a-knocking. So she soon got a Caucasian manager. She was doing the larger shows in the more established and luxurious venues. So she was no longer in the backwoods doing her performances. And so they showed that progression. And so when the film really picks up, her and her band are in Chicago to record some of her songs for an album. And so that's where all the action is on that day, as they're getting ready for that recording. The next point that I want to draw to you is that she was invited to Chicago. because of who she was, because of what she had established as an artist, she was invited to come to Chicago to record. They wanted her there. They saw her value. And that's why she was there. On the flip side, Levee was there as well, but he was not there because he was invited based on his talent and who he is as an artist. He was there because he worked for Ma Rainey. And so that's the contrast there. So when Levee, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll just put a pin there. She was invited, Ma Rainey was invited there for the recording by the gentleman. Levee was there at the request of Ma Rainey as her band member. Now, the next position, the next point that came out in the movie was Ma always knew her negotiation position. She knew where the power was in the negotiation process. She knew where she stood, and she always negotiated from that position. She was in the position of power because of the fact that she did not need that recording session. She could take it or leave it, and she knew it. Although she knew that if she did it, she would make money, but if she did not do it, she had no problems leaving it alone. And on the flip side, Levee, when he attempted to negotiate with the recording studio head, he did not really understand his position of power in that negotiating process. The gentleman, for whatever reason, and it didn't really show in the movie how they came together. It just came out that he had started having conversations with the recording guy. He made himself a lot more amicable and amenable to the guy. Ma was very confrontational, and it showed in the movie that she and the guy didn't get along, but they were there because he wanted something from her, and she knew that he wanted something from her. And she didn't mince any words about it. Levee, on the other hand, was very amenable, and he was very agreeable with the guy, even though deep in his heart, he had some ill feelings towards the whole situation. But he was trying to get where he wanted to be. And he thought that because he was talented and because he could create these songs, that was enough for him to get ahead, to do what he wanted to do. He wanted to create his own band. He wanted to record his own music. And he felt that this gentleman over this recording studio, wanted to help him. And so that's what he was thinking, and that's what the gentleman led him to believe. And so he basically set Levee on the task of writing these songs. And so Levee was very excited about the fact that he was asked to write these songs, and he felt that he had created his deal. But you have to look at the fact, when you look at the situation, Levee definitely needed the deal more than the recording gentleman needed it, because Levee didn't have a band. Levee had never recorded the songs. Levee's songs had never been heard by the public. Therefore, the public had never purchased his songs. So there was no record to show what the value of those songs would actually be. But Levee didn't understand that negotiating position. And as we move along in the movie, it shows the results. Another thing that really stuck out in the movie was that Ma Rainey did not mind introducing a credible threat. So whenever you're negotiating with anyone, you have to know where your line is, where you're willing to walk away, and you have to be willing to walk away if that line is crossed. And so over and over in the movie, she constantly showed that if things were not done according to the contract, if things were not done according to the way she wanted it to be done, she was willing to walk away. She made it perfectly clear that she did not need the recording studio. She did not need the recording contract. And that if things could not be done her way on her time and to her liking. She did not mind squashing the deal, throwing it in the air, and going back down south, because that's where her base was. That's where her audience was. That's where the bulk of her money was coming from, and she was good. If that was all she was going to get, then that was fine with her. Then that was all. However, if you want to do this, if you want me to record this music, then you're going to have my 3 Coca-Colas the way I want it. You're going to allow my nephew, who stutters, to say these lines on this album, however many times he needs to say it in order to get it right. And at the end of the day, you're going to pay him. And you're not going to take it out of my money. You're going to pay him his fair share for doing the work, because that's the way I want it. And if you don't like it, then by all means, we can just throw this whole deal away, and I'll go back down south and you can find somebody else to do what you want to do. Constantly in the movie, she showed that strength, because she always knew where the negotiation power was. And you will see when you watch the film, if you've watched the film, that she got everything that she wanted throughout the whole film. Now, when you look at Levee and you're watching him throughout the situation, when he got to the end and he's confronted the recording gentleman, because he had basically, he had pretty much stepped on Ma Rainey and her, he had come to heads with her. And she basically was done with him, because he was basically trying to pull himself up on her coat strings, her coattail. He was trying to pull himself up through her coattails. He got to the situation because he worked for her. He was trying to rearrange her song and force his version of her song onto her album that she against her wishes. And so after a while, she fired him. She fired him and told him to go on and do what he's going to do. But she wasn't going to have the disrespect, from a band member who worked for her. And so him thinking that he had a deal, he walked out and said, "Hey, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to go on." So he thought he had his deal. So then when he went back to the recording guy and said, "Hey, I'm free. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start this," then the guy did a flip on him and told him, "Hey, I don't think I need these songs." And so when he kept pressing him, saying, "Well, what do you mean you don't need these songs? You told me to create these songs. Why don't you need them?" He said, "Oh, I let my band play them, and I don't think they're good. But I'll take them off your hands for you. I'll pay you $5 a song for them." And really, that's really what he wanted to begin with. He never wanted Levee to play those songs. He just wanted Levee to create those songs, and he wanted to purchase those songs outright and to leave Levee out of the deal. And because of the position that Levee was in the negotiation power, he had to take the deal. He couldn't force his will on the deal, because he was the one who needed the deal more. And I actually have a video that talks about negotiating power and understanding your position in the negotiation power in order for you to negotiate contracts that are amenable and to your best interest. And so in this case, Levee did not understand his negotiating position. And so one of the other aspects that I saw that really stuck out to me was that Ma Rainey was very loyal. She was very loyal to those who were with her, and who were truly in her corner. So when her nephew, she brought her nephew there, told him she was going to have him do these lines on her recording so that he can make this money. And no matter what everyone says, because her nephew stuttered, and he stuttered very bad. And so, but regardless of that, she still stayed loyal to him because she wanted him to make this money, and she wanted him to send some of that money down to her mother, his mother, which was her sister. And so because of that, she stayed loyal to him. Even when everyone in the band was saying, he can't do the part, he stutters too bad, he can't do it, her position was, he's doing it. I'm telling you he's doing it. And if he don't do it then and make the money, then nobody is going to do it and make some money. And she was very loyal to him all the way through. And she was pretty much like that. You can tell that was her character as a person, to be steadfast and loyal to those who are steadfast and loyal to her. And so, in contrast, when you looked at Levee's character, Levee was not loyal to anyone but himself. And so there are, when you look at the movie, there are extenuating circumstances that brought him to that point in his life to have that ideology, which is a whole nother conversation. But when you look in terms of just business and how you do business dealings with individuals, it's very important to be loyal, and it's very important to be a person of your word. Because when you are loyal and you are a person of your word, then people understand and they know how to deal with you. They know how to handle you, and they know where you're going to stand. And it keeps down a lot of confusion, and it also helps you as you are moving forward in these negotiating processes. So anyway, those are just a couple of thoughts that I had about this movie. It's an August Wilson play that they adapted to film, starring Viola Davis as well as Chadwick Boseman in his final theatrical appearance. And it was awesome. They both gave awesome performances in this film. And I do believe that this film is a must-see for any recording artist who is embarking or currently in their career in the industry, because it gives a lot of insight and a lot of truth, real truth on how things are done. It gives a very realistic and just valuable insight on individuals, on people, on just how to handle yourself in this industry. I always say entertainment is about relationships, and it's very important that you keep things friendly, because that's what it's all about. It's a lot of fun, but also remember, it's not personal. So you have to maintain that impersonal position and balance it out with the friendliness and with the relationships that you have. That's the only way to keep things copacetic and also to keep things moving right along the way they should be. So anyway, I hope this provides some sort of information for you that is beneficial to you. If so, I just ask that you just like the video, share the video, let people know what we're doing at Position for Millions. And until next time, good night.